2005, state of New Jersey, authorized the tomato being the state's official vegetable. Fourth graders at the time determined and contested that, indeed, that the tomato should not be the state vegetable, and that it should actually be the state fruit. So why exactly are tomatoes in question? What is it exactly that makes us wonder, what is a tomato? Is it a vegetable? Is it a fruit?
It's a fruit. It's a berry. A vegetable. A red vegetable.
Tomato is a type of fruit. I believe it's actually in the berry family. From my botany class, I learned that. Just like bananas.
Tomato is a red, usually fleshy vegetable that you can buy at most supermarkets. It goes well in sauces and salads, and you can eat it. They're usually red, but they come in orange too, and yellow and green sometimes.
Turns out this very question was asked at the U.S. Supreme Court in 1893 in the Supreme Court case Nix v. Hedden. I'm here at Humboldt State University to talk to experts to find out what exactly was ruled in this truly significant Supreme Court case. I am Mel Aiko, and this is Moments of Legal Wonder. So the first thing we must do is define what exactly is a tomato.
There is no doubt among the scientific community, tomatoes are fruits. They have the seeds on the inside.
In order to truly grasp the context in which Nix v. Hedden was happening and when it was happening, we are here to talk to a historian. So, what was New York like during this time period? So New York City at this time was going through a time of change. There was a lot more immigrants coming from Europe that were coming in, and they were mostly looking for jobs. And furthermore, there were a lot of other people from the countryside surrounding New York City that were also coming looking for jobs. And these jobs were mostly in the manufacturing industry. How important was New York City to international trade at this time? New York City was very much important to international trade for the United States. At this point, there was a lot of people that wanted various things from around the world, so there was a demand for international trade. Furthermore, New York City is home to a lot of large businesses at the time. And lastly, it was, still is, a very large and a very important port city. And it was also a hub for various other means of transportation, such as railroads and roads and rivers. Now that we've contextualized New York City at the time, I am now going to talk to a Supreme Court historian to get to the heart of the matter. What are the facts of this case?
So the Tariff Act of 1883 takes effect. This requires a tax on vegetables that are being imported. Nix's tomatoes are taxed under this act, even though they are technically fruits. He doesn't think this is correct, so he decides to sue. He sues Edward Hedden, who is the collector of the Port of New York, basically to try to get back the taxes that he had paid.
So, what exactly happened at the district court level?
So at the district court level, Nix's attorneys used definitions of several fruits and vegetables in their case. They cited beans, cucumbers, peppers, eggplants, and squash, but ultimately the justices did side with Hedden, basically saying that the language used in legislative action pertains to the group of people in which the action is going to be in relation to. In this case, it's the community at large. This basically means that the Tariff Act of 1883's definition of vegetables pertains to common speech, not the scientific definition. So even though Hedden won at the district court level, Nix and his attorneys decided to appeal, and they made it all the way to the Supreme Court.
What was the issue at the Supreme Court level?
So the issue at the Supreme Court level was, did Hedden violate the Tariff Act of 1883 by taxing Nix's imported tomatoes as vegetables?
What was the reasoning at the Supreme Court level?
Just like at the district court level, the reasoning for the Supreme Court was that since fruits or vegetables, those words didn't have any specific meaning in trade or commerce, the common usage of the word would be used. Botanically speaking, there's no question that tomatoes are a fruit of the vine, but in common speech and in the way people use and prepare tomatoes in their kitchens, they are vegetables, usually served at dinner time and in entrees, not in desserts or in sweet foods such as fruits. In the Supreme Court, both sides used dictionary definitions as their preliminary evidence. The Supreme Court upheld the district court's ruling in siding with Hedden in this case.
So why exactly was this case so important?
It set the precedent that dictionaries could not be used as evidence, but only as aids to the memory of the court. This case was cited in Brown v. Piper, Jones v. U.S., Nelson v. Cushing, and Page G. Fawcett.
I decided to ask the community at large how they feel about this court case. Legally speaking, do you think they should be considered a fruit or a vegetable?
Legally speaking, I think it should be a vegetable because that's all I've known it to be, honestly. But there's some weird thing about, like, if it has a seed, it's a fruit, so I'm not sure. Like, that might be a trick question.
Legally speaking, well, I mean, scientifically they're fruit, so legally I think they should be a fruit because that's what they are. But, you know, they taste kind of, you know, not great, so that's kind of similar to a vegetable because I don't think vegetables are great either. So, legally, yes, they should be a fruit.
A fruit or a vegetable?
Fruit?
I don't know enough, honestly, but I would say that they should probably be considered a vegetable. But they're, well, no. Why?
Do you agree with the court's decision, and why?
Yeah. I've been programmed to think it's a vegetable, so I agree with it, yeah, personally.
Okay.
Oh, so they're legally vegetables?
According to the Supreme Court,
I mean,
they are vegetables.
I agree with my taste buds on the fact that tomatoes don't taste like grapefruit, but I would say that we should stick with science and let science determine what things are. In this country, I believe a lot of scientific knowledge is hidden from the public just because our politicians, they don't understand it themselves, so how are they supposed to put forth legislation when they don't get it themselves?
I don't think that if they're not scientifically vegetables, they probably should be called fruits, if they're actually fruits. And I don't understand why it's such a big issue. does it really have a lot to do? I mean, kind of, you gotta look at like the players, like who is monetarily has anything to gain or lose from this, I think, more than anything, which is in effect farmers and processors, distributors, and marketers, where marketing a tomato as a vegetable is a lot more likely to produce profits, whereas marketing it as a fruit is weird to people because it has been a vegetable for so long. So I don't think it should be legally a vegetable if it's scientifically a fruit.
I don't know. I feel like, I mean, scientifically they're fruit. I guess I don't agree with that. I mean, I guess it makes sense to tax them as vegetables, but I guess I don't know what the difference between a vegetable tax and fruit tax would be. I guess that would be an important distinction.
Like, it would be like calling a cow legally a pig to make it sound healthier.
So what we've learned today is that, legally speaking, tomatoes are indeed vegetables, and that the state of New Jersey picking the tomato as their state vegetable is in fact legal. Furthermore, the reasoning behind why tomatoes are considered vegetables legally is because not of their scientific meaning, of their anatomy or botanical significance, but mostly, if not all, out of their common usage by the people. This court case is important to other cases in that it set the precedent for dictionaries being used not as evidence, but as reference materials for the courts. Thank you for joining us on our wonderful show, and in order to help us continue make more videos, please donate to us at our Patreon, and please hit that subscribe button.